Oh, you damn right. Let's get a recruiting hour going on a Wednesday because recruiting never stops. Big visitors from the past weekend. Big visitors are coming up this weekend. We're going to put a new name in your head if you don't know the name of a badass 5-star from Florida. We'll put him on your dream list. Texas fans, don't worry. Of course, Jason Sukamel, orangebloods.com. The 321 article is up on orangebloods.com. The rumor mill is up on orangebloods.com. And we're going to be pulling info from both of those today, but go check out the full thing at orangebloods.com. Also, shout out to our sponsor, Longhorn Wealth Management Group. Let's give John and his crew a little love before we get cranked up. And, of course, we told you, a UT guy through and through, all 6 siblings, and he and his wife, they're all UT grads. So you know what John's excited about this week. The portal. He's pumped that Texas likely added starters at tight end, kicker, wide receiver, and D-line through the portal. And to celebrate, he wants to encourage all Orange Bloods Live fans to secure their own financial futures, see what he did there, by taking advantage of the free 90-minute private consultation that John is offering to show you how working with a financial planner like John can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. You can call them at 972-707-4900 or go online to longhornwealth.net. Schedule that free 90-minute private consultation with John today. He sends along a big hook'em to all of you. And I know John's pumped about that portal activity for Texas.
Hey, Chad, with all these portal guys in the NIL packages they're getting, they should be reaching out to John, maximizing their money.
Right.
Those dudes are getting some pretty nice paydays, I have to assume, right? So, yeah, they need to get in touch with John and maximize their money long term. Yeah,
there you go. John can help that NIL money.
Build it. Yeah, exactly.
Helping increase all of that good stuff. All right, Jason. So we got a lot of ground to cover today, and there's some, like I mentioned, big visitors are coming up this weekend, but there were also some big visits from last weekend. Let's hit a couple of these names here and get some updates from you. How about the name Braden Rouse for people who might not know this name? It's one they need to know. He was in last weekend. What's the update?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a new name because Texas had offered him, but not a guy we've talked about, right? He hadn't visited Texas. Was kind of an out-of-state guy. He's from Marietta, Georgia, so he was an out-of-state guy that Texas had offered, but wasn't a whole lot of action, right, until last week. Well, he visits Texas last weekend, and we heard great things about it. Sam Spiegelman from Rivals even talked to Braden, and he's like, yeah, man, Texas made a really strong impression. So I put in my rumor mill today. I'm like, hey, man, I've heard Texas moved up quite a bit. He had, I think, 5, maybe even 6, Chad, official visits set up, none of which were to Texas. But I said, hey, I'm hearing that's going to probably change. Well, literally, dude, like 10 minutes before we went on air here, Braden Rouse released a top 4. So he trimmed that list down quite a bit.
Okay.
And I said Texas made an impression. Texas is in the top 4. It's Alabama, it's Michigan, it's Texas, and Tennessee. So, he mentioned the facilities. He mentioned the development. He just said the culture at Texas, the coaches. Biggest reason Texas, I said Texas is surging. I put that out this morning. An hour later, Texas is officially in his top 4. I have to think Texas will officially get an official visit. I need to reach out to Braden later today when I have a little bit more time and try to see if he's got a date locked in. But I think it's safe to assume Texas will now get an official visit.
Yeah, and in the title today, I mentioned top 10 talent. I'm the one that's we've talked about in that Rivals ranking. When it's a top 10 overall at that position, that always gets my attention. And this is a guy that's number 6 linebacker in the country, according to Rivals right now. So obviously a big deal. Braden Rouse. And
Rivals 100 guy. Rivals 100 is number 75. And I'm looking. It's funny that Georgia did not make his top 4 because prior to today.
Just about to ask you that, Jason. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he had official visits. He had Alabama. He had Georgia for June 13th. Alabama's May. The Michigan one. Michigan's in his Tennessee he had set up. So no Georgia in his final 4. So that makes me think, Chad, he's got Michigan June 6th, Tennessee June 20th, and Georgia June 13th. Let's just do the math, right? take out Georgia, they're not in his top 4. June 13th is Texas's biggest official visit weekend.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume Texas is probably going to slide in for that June 13th official visit, but I want to confirm with Braden before we make that official. But I would assume that's how this is going to unfold over the course of the day.
Yeah. Jason, I don't know if this is how Texas thinks of it, but if I were Texas, when I see an Alabama kid, a Florida kid, or a Georgia kid, one of my first questions is, how strong is the connection to an in-state school? And if you got a kid here that's out of Georgia, and like you said, when you said, I was waiting to write down Georgia for that 4, and it's like, wait, he didn't say Georgia. That is, that's noteworthy.
Yeah, and Texas has recruited Georgia with success, and they're doing it, recruiting Georgia aggressively again this year. I mean, Justice Terry last year. But you're right, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, even LSU, Louisiana, right? Ohio, not that Texas recruits Ohio much, but if a kid was from Ohio, like what's the draw? There's certain states where you got to look at that home school and see what the draw is. But Georgia's not in the top 4, which is interesting because he's visited there a couple times already. He's had an official visit planned there. So I don't know if things just went sideways. I don't know the story, to be honest, why Georgia's no longer in the race, but they're not in his top 4, which is just very interesting.
Yeah, interesting stuff. All right, Braden Rouse, the name we'll start with today. We appreciate everybody jumping in. Jareth, thank you for telling everybody to like the video. We do appreciate that. If you don't like it on the way in, and if you could like it during, that'd be great.
Jareth was telling people to like the video before we even went live, dude. I love that, Jareth.
Yeah, there you go.
Ball, man. So yeah,
very nice. Mike, good to see you in the chat as well. And that, of course, is the Specs chat. You got super chat availability if you want it. If you send us a super chat, we do appreciate that donation, and it'll go right to the top of the list. If you send us one, let's give Specs their love because they are celebrating their 63rd anniversary and they want to celebrate it with you.
Have you heard the news? Specs is turning 63 and we're celebrating you. Whether you're looking for whiskey, canned cocktails, or wine, Specs has it all with Texas-sized savings all month long. Specs. Cheers to save.
Just hoping to make it.
Chad, I was at Specs just last night. I was like, you know what? I had a long day yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to watch some Lakers basketball and have a bourbon. So I was at
there you go.
Last night. Yep. So.
And you had a good night as a Lakers fan. Lakers even
that series. Damn game starts so late, and I was up super early yesterday, so I made it to halftime. But I felt pretty good at halftime. I was like, no, I think I made it to the third quarter, I guess. But I was like, I feel pretty good. I'm going to go to bed. Lakers had a pretty good lead, so I went to bed. But yeah.
There you go. We remind everybody that orangebloods.com is the place for Jason's 321 article, also the Rumor Mill article. A lot of great information on the very latest in recruiting. So check that out at orangebloods.com, not to mention breakdowns of what's going on in the portal, including the breakdown on Murad Watson, the latest portal edition for Texas, the big defensive lineman out of Syracuse. So get on orangebloods.com and check that out. Jason, a couple of the other guys you updated us on this week. Let's hit some names we've talked about. How about tight end Mark Bowman? What is the update on the tight end stud?
Yeah, we've talked about Mark a bunch, right? He's visited Texas multiple times, including 2-3 weeks ago now. It feels like I talked to him up at the 7-on-7 up in Dallas, OT7. So we've talked about Mark a bunch. But, when he visited Texas, I think maybe it was 3 weekends ago, the Longhorns kind of were surging, right? And it was like Texas, Texas, Texas. Georgia's always been that program that's been I've been hearing, hey, I don't say a lock to Georgia, but people I've talked to on the West Coast, Mark's from California, seem to think that Georgia's going to be awfully tough to beat in the end. Well, he visited Texas, and there was a lot of talk about Texas. I feel pretty confident coming out of that visit saying Texas and Georgia were kind of neck and neck at top of this race. You got other schools, USC, Oregon, some others trying to get in the mix there. He did visit Miami recently. But he did, Chad, 2 weeks ago, took a visit to Georgia. He was there, I think it was 4 nights.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to 4 nights. Yeah, he went in like Wednesday through Saturday or Sunday. So I was like, okay, okay. I don't know how I feel about that from a Texas perspective. But this week he visited Ohio State, right? You can never discount Ohio State, at any position, but they have a long history of tight ends. I continue to hear, though, it's probably going to be Texas and Georgia. Now, that 4-day stay at Georgia is a little bit of a red flag for me. He was at Texas for 2 nights, okay? So it's not like he just popped in and popped right out when he came to Austin, but spending 4 nights in one location is a bit of an eye opener. You know, I've said Mark Bowman fancies himself as a Brock Bowers type in the Georgia offense. I should know this. Brock Bowers, he's from California, I believe. You know the answer?
I think that's right.
Google that. I think that's right. So Bowman kind of fancies himself as the next Brock Bowers, and maybe he should. He's that kind of talent. He's an elite player. But yeah, he did visit Ohio State, so we're kind of keeping an eye on that one, kind of on the fringe. I still think it's Texas in Georgia, and he'll take his official visits. He's not looking to decide like before, so I don't think anything crazy is going to happen. He'll take those official visits.
Bowers, you're right, Jason. Bowers is Cali, Napa. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so that's why he kind of sees himself in that mold. But Bowman, I will say, he's young. You know, he reclassified, but he's very cerebral, thoughtful about this process. He's not going to act based on emotion. That would surprise me. He's got a really good support system with his family. They're going to help guide him. Of course, his dad, I've talked about before, is from Texas, grew up wanting to go to Texas. Now, of course, settled out in California. So it's an interesting dynamic and an interesting race. But now you got to keep an eye on Ohio State. And that 4-day trip to Georgia is okay, a little bit like that set my radars up. Like, okay, he didn't just go there for a weekend. He didn't just go there for a night. He was there for 4 nights in Athens.
The other thing to remember, Jason, I guess, is when I think now, it's very different than, say, 5 years ago. When you're thinking of a Cali kid and Ohio State, maybe we throw in Michigan. Now there's an extra connection. In the Big Ten, there are Cali schools that are going to Columbus, you would figure about every year. But also, if you're the family out in California, there's now an argument for, well, you know, the Buckeyes are going to come see you. The Buckeyes are coming out here, and you got the California schools as well as Oregon and Washington. So that's
probably something that those schools would try to sell.
Yeah.
But I don't think it matters for Mark Bowman, if I'm being honest. I mean, I think his family has no problems traveling.
Yeah, that's true.
They spent multiple days in Austin, Columbus, 4 days in Athens. You know, I even asked Mark one time, I said, hey, the fact that it's so easy to get from where you're from in California, kind of the LA area, to Austin, you know, it's a quick, 2.5-hour flight, whatever, it's 3-hour flight, versus getting to Georgia. Because he's like, yeah, Georgia, I got to fly here, do a connecting flight, and then drive like an hour. I said, does that help Texas at all? And he's like, no, not really. So the travel aspect really wasn't that big of a deal. He did say maybe for his grandfather, it'd be easier for his grandfather, but for Mark, his parents, travel didn't seem to be an issue.
All right, fair enough. So there's the update on Mark Bowman, the tight end. We've gotten 15 minutes in, Jason, and I haven't said the name Felix Ojo. Let's rectify that. Do we have a Felix Ojo update? I see in your notes Felix Ojo might know now what an official visit is actually like.
Yeah, he took his first official visit last week. His first of, what's he got, like 6 scheduled, I think, because he added Colorado recently. But he did go to Ole Miss last weekend. And, you know, I have not talked to Felix yet. I mean, I'll probably try to hit him up maybe tonight, actually. And I haven't seen any reports on that visit, but I kind of kicked the tires a little bit. And people I talked to that, you know, have connections to Ole Miss said, yeah, like they've heard it was a really good visit. Well, that's what you'd expect. It's his first official visit, right? I'd be shocked to hear anything but like, oh man, it was amazing. But I don't get the impression that much has changed in this recruitment. I don't think Ole Miss suddenly is, you know, atop the leaderboard or tied with Texas or anything like that. I still think it's Texas. I think Ohio State, Michigan, maybe Oklahoma is a school to watch there. But, you know, Felix is going to enjoy the process. Like I said, he's got, I think it's maybe 6 official visits now, maybe 7, Chad. I can't even remember. One of those is, of course, is to Texas on June 13th. But he did take his first official visit to Ole Miss. I still think that's Texas's race to lose, though.
6 official visits scheduled. You start in the Grove, and everybody wants you. Soak that up, young man. Enjoy it, Felix Ojo. My goodness, that must be fun. So we'll keep an eye on that. Felix Ojo, the #1 offensive line target for Texas in this 2026 class. Jason, let's step briefly out of 2026 because I think we have to go to 2027 for Malachi Ziegler maybe a new name to add to the quarterback discussion for that year?
Yeah, a little bit. We talked about him. I don't remember if we talked about him on the recruiting hour, Chad, but I wrote about him after, Texas has kind of been in communication with him, but he came to that Elite 11 regional camp in Austin, actually in Del Valley, but
Yes.
it's Elite 11 Austin. But so I got to talk to him after that. And I tell you what, if Alex Dunlap was on here with us, he was at that camp with me, he would be saying the same thing. We were really impressed with Malachi Ziegler, and he's a tremendous player. In fact, Rivals has him. Let me pull up his profile. I'm sorry. Number 45 nationally in that 2027 class, which I believe is the highest he's ranked maybe of any service. And I'm not going to argue with Rivals having him ranked that highly after seeing him at that Elite 11. But, he'd been in contact with Texas a little bit. But he did visit last week. So it's been 9 days. I think it was Monday of last week. He came in, got to watch practice, got to meet with AJ Milwee, got to meet with Sark. They stressed to him like, hey, we like what we've seen, but we need to see a little more. We haven't got a chance to see you throw in person. They had a support staff guy go watch him. So they're like, hey, we want you to come in. June 1st is our elite camp. We can watch you work out. You can see how we coach. And then, we'll figure out possibly an offer there. Right now, Texas only has one 2027 uncommitted quarterback offer out there, right? Peyton Houston's kind of been the guy. Also, interestingly, out of Louisiana. So Malachi could come in at that June camp, and I wouldn't be surprised, Chad, if Texas offered him. If he has a day like he had at that Elite 11, really impressive player, really impressive kid. Very just kind of thoughtful. And like I said, hey, Texas usually handles their things at quarterback a little bit different. They don't throw out 50 scholarships like some schools. I said, are you okay with that? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I actually appreciate the fact that they do so much due diligence with their quarterback offers. And that means when you get that offer, it means a lot more. So he's going to come back. Texas asked him to, and he's already got plans to come back June 1st to throw at that elite camp in front of Sarkisian and in front of AJ Milwee, the Texas quarterbacks coach. If he gets an offer, we'll see what happens. He's pretty open right now. He's hit a bunch of different places this spring. I think he's been out in California and over on the East Coast and everywhere in between. But he did hit Texas last week. Really liked what he saw from the facilities, the program, everything that he saw from UT, and heard from the coaches. Now we just need to see if he gets that offer after that June 1st elite camp.
Jason, it was incredible reading your notes on that. The fact that the kid is acknowledging that Texas is not slow playing, but taking their time, doing their due diligence like you talked about, and he likes it. That doesn't, the typical, prima donna athlete would be like, no, you got to get me an offer right now.
I need to be the first.
Ziegler appreciating it, that it's going this way.
Like, let me read the quote. And first off, a kid that uses due diligence, I'm like, oh, wow, that's usually I hear that as like a legal term, but I'm like, oh, good for you, Malachi.
It's a good one.
He said, there are a few, quote, there are a few schools like that prefer to do a deeper dive, more due diligence on who they're recruiting. That's a quarterback. For a school like Texas, that's the face of an SEC program. It makes the offer that much sweeter after they do their due diligence. So, yeah, he's not bothered by it at all. In the back of his mind, might he sit there and think like, oh, wait a second, this other school believed in me maybe a little bit earlier than a school like Texas? Maybe, but he certainly doesn't seem like he has a problem with it.
Yeah, that's it was really impressive. That's a really impressive comment. If you're a Texas fan, you got to soak that up. The fact that Sark and the coaches were able to communicate it that clearly to the kid, and then the kid can regurgitate it, take it in, and then tell somebody else that that's what's going on. That's impressive.
And I'll say this about Malachi. When I saw him at the Elite 11 camp, he's got a really good support system. Okay, his parents and his family. So, I'm sure he's getting good guidance through this, and they're probably helping kind of explain this situation too. So that's important. Some guys don't have that. They don't have great people around them kind of helping steer them, and maybe they get their feelings hurt about this, that, or the other. Well, that's not an issue with Malachi Ziegler.
All right, so Malachi Ziegler, again, that 2027 quarterback to keep an eye on. Again, there's big visitors coming in this weekend. We're going to hit a couple more of the rumor mill guys and then get to some of those visitors that are coming in. Again, we want to thank Longhorn Wealth Management Group for their partnership with the recruiting hour. John and his crew, as we mentioned, really excited about portal stuff. They're also really excited about the draft. Remember, John is a 15-year member of that Dallas, Texas Exes chapter. He's now helping lead out the build-out up in the Collin County, Texas Exes chapter. So if you're up in that part of the world, definitely look John up. And again, the draft coming up this week. John is pumped about that, looking for 10 or more Longhorns that are expected to be drafted. 3 may go in the first round. In anticipation of that great achievement, John and the Longhorn Wealth team are offering all Orange Bloods Live fans the opportunity to draft their own financial future by taking advantage of the free 90-minute private consultation to learn how working with a certified financial planner like John can help you identify and implement the strategies and solutions you need to maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. Check them out. We mentioned the number earlier, 972-707-4900, or go to longhornwealth.net. You don't have to be a first-round pick to need a certified financial planner. John can help you out with all that stuff.
Hey, can I hijack our show for a minute?
Of course.
Brought up the NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about this. My Pittsburgh Steelers are rumored to pick maybe Jalen Milroe or maybe Shedeur Sanders in the first round.
Yeah, 21st pick, right?
Yeah. You know, I think that's right. I don't even know. But I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, I love Jalen Milroe. I covered him as a recruit. Awesome kid. But I don't know how I feel about him. I mean, he could be a high ceiling guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
With his athleticism and his arm strength, all that. But, you know, obviously he's got some developing still as a passer. Shedeur, I have hated Deion Sanders like for most of my adult life as a Steelers fan, just when he played with the Cowboys and everything.
Right.
I hated him as a player. I've kind of grown to like him a little bit as a coach.
Out of principle, you've hated him.
Yeah, just as a player, I despised him. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
but I've come to I like him as a coach. I think he does good things for these kids and builds them up. But I don't know. There's always that in the back of my head about, it's Deion Sanders. I'm like, I got to root for Deion's kid now, possibly. So right. I don't know how, Chad, I'm so torn going into this draft. So I don't know how I feel. And then there's still the Aaron Rodgers discussion, another guy I hated. So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm going to do as a fan this year, man. So, okay, I had to get that off my chest.
No, that's okay. Steelers quarterback situation is going to be a hot topic of conversation. You know, it will be in my house.
Hey, like, that's right. Yeah. How's your wife feel about all this? Have you talked to her about
she's just she's living in anti-Aaron Rodgers land. That's about where she is right now. She does not.
Kind of there, but then I'm like, but okay, but if he comes in and wins, I mean, I don't know. Just win, baby. To borrow the Raiders phrase, I don't know, man. So. I
know. I've told her, like, as a fan who's gotten used to rooting for Baker Mayfield, a guy I never rooted for before. I've told her, honey, you can do it. I promise. Yeah. I spent so much time not rooting for Tom Brady, but as a Bucs fan, all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, I get to root for Tom Brady? This is pretty cool. And you get used to it when they win games, Jason. I will tell you that.
That's good to know. So then, all right, bring on Aaron Rodgers, bring on Shedeur, whoever. Then let's go win some games, and I'll be happy.
I'll just tell you this, Jason. The very first pass I saw Tom Brady throw as a Buck, it was like a deep out. It was an NFL throw through and through. Mike Evans catches the ball, and I'm thinking, yeah, I could get used to this. And if you saw the same thing in black and yellow, I think you could get used to it.
Especially when he did it in the Super Bowl later that year, right?
Sure, so. Right? Yeah, if it ends the same way, you really would take it. All right, so Jason, let's round out the kind of rumor mill discussion before we get to these visitors. This will lead us actually into the visitors because you finished the rumor mill this week with 3 running backs and updates. So let's start with a name we have talked about and work towards the guy that's on the thumbnail today. Xavier Crowell is a name we've said plenty of times. Rival says he's the number 1 running back right now. What's the update here? I feel like there's an elephant in the room to discuss.
Well, let me clarify a little bit. Rivals has a number 1 running back, but they also have a classification for all-purpose back, which we'll talk about a guy who's in that classification who's actually ranked higher than Xavier Crowell. So Xavier is number 42 in the country, out of Jackson, Alabama. He visited Texas. It's the same weekend Mark Bowman was in. So like 3 weekends ago, I think it was like the 12th or whatever. And he was here for multiple days. He's been to Texas a few times. He's coming back for an official visit. Coming out of that visit, naturally there was some Texas buzz, but everything I have heard in talking to people behind the scenes is like Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Auburn, probably Alabama, Auburn, and then maybe Texas be down here somewhere. Well, he did visit after Texas. He visited Auburn, and he visited Alabama for a day visit in Alabama about a week and a half ago. And the vibe coming out of that weekend, I kind of circled back as like, yeah, it's going to be really tough to get him out of the state of Alabama.
Right.
And the Crimson Tide are probably leading that race right now. Listen, Chad, official visits are still going to happen. Texas is going to get an official visit. NIL is a great neutralizer, right? If Texas is, hey, we need this guy, and they want to make a more presentable package than some of these other schools, then I think Texas could win that race. But right now, it definitely feels like it's till like December, like signing day of December. That's what he's declared. I mean, some kids say that, and the process gets to him, and they go ahead and make an earlier decision. But he's not planning on deciding till December, so there's a lot of time in this one. But right now, Texas has ground to make up.
Yeah, that's back to that in-state discussion. If you're in state with Alabama, you're a running back. You're that good of a running back, and that's might be tough to get him out of the state. So keep an eye on that one. Xavier Crowell, a name we've mentioned many times. Before we get Jason to that number one all-purpose back in the country, and he is coming to visit this weekend. Let's not forget, speaking of the in-state stuff, a guy from Georgia that we talked about, another one of those earlier. This is another guy from Georgia. This is Amari Latimer, also a running back. So I guess I start with, is Georgia interested?
They are. And you hit on something earlier, because we're going to talk about the other running back, and it's another in-state school there too. But Amari Latimer out of Georgia is, I wouldn't say that Texas is a front runner by any means, but he did drop a top 6 this week that includes the Longhorns. Okay. He is supposed to take an official visit. I'm trying to get that locked in. I mean, I've seen it reported. I don't have any reason to doubt it, but I like to double confirm things on my own. And I'm still working on that a little bit just to make sure that I have the right date and everything. So, but yes, Texas should get an official visit. They did make his top 6, joined by Georgia. You mentioned the in-state school, Wisconsin, Michigan, Tennessee, and Florida State. Keep an eye on Wisconsin. His brother is a cornerback at Wisconsin, transferred up to Wisconsin this year. So he did visit Wisconsin recently. So Texas is in the mix there. They're in his top 6, so they got a shot. But I don't have a great feeling about saying, I think Texas is a leader or a co-leader. Not when he's been to these other programs, more than he's been to Texas. Not when he's got Georgia, an in-state school with an official visit set up. Not when his brother plays at Wisconsin. He was just there. He's going back for an official visit. So I think Texas, anytime Texas is in a top 6, you're like, okay, they've got a shot. It's Texas, right? I mean, Texas can always pull an upset. But right now, I think it would be an upset for Texas to win that one.
All right, Jason, and we'll finish up your rumor mill stuff, but also this gets us into the visits for the weekend, because this number one all-purpose back, he is coming in. It's a young man from Florida. Derek Cooper is the name. I don't think we've said his name on the recruiting hour yet, but this will get it started. He is a big-time badass.
He's a big-time badass, number 12 in the country overall, player in the country. He's another guy that recently reclassified, right? Like Xavier Crowell, like Mark Bowman, some of these guys we've talked about. He is, Chad, a home run back. I don't have his speed numbers in front of me, but this guy is a guy that if he shakes free from the 1-yard line, he can go 99 yards and you're not going to catch him from behind. That's what Texas is looking for. They're looking for some of that kind of pop in their running back position in this class. Who isn't, right? But I mean, Texas really wants it more than they want. Tashard Choice kind of, traditionally, I think Texas has always taken kind of guys that can more kind of power between the tackles type backs. I think Chad Scott may be looking for a little bit more speed, a little more pop in that position than what we see all Texas recruits. A little bit under Tashard Choice, and then even with Stan Drayton. Stan really liked kind of the bigger between the tackle backs. But Derek Cooper is coming in this weekend for an unofficial visit. He doesn't have an official visit set up with Texas. We'll see if that changes after this weekend. Let me make sure I got this right. He has official visits lined up, Chad, with Auburn, Miami, Alabama, Georgia, Penn State, and Ohio State. So he's got a pretty full calendar, right?
Yeah. Including
June, when Texas does all of its official visits. He's all booked up. So we'll see if Texas can get him to move some things around. We'll see what happens after this weekend. But they will try to swing for the fences, as I said in the rumor mill. They're going to get him on campus this weekend. Miami kind of has the early buzz there. So you mentioned he's from Florida, in-state program. I don't think he's a lock to Miami by any means. but that seems to be the school most people are talking about in this one. But Texas will get their chance to host Derek Cooper this weekend.
Yeah, that'd be a big get for Miami, Jason. Be the first fast guy that they would have ever recruited, ever, for the Miami Hurricane. They've never recruited fast guy at all. Derek Cooper. By the way, there's no I in team, and there's no I in Derek in this case. Derrek. Well done to the parents there. Found a new way to spell Derek. I've never seen that spelling of Derek. Derek Cooper. And then, Jason, just to clarify something you said earlier. So when Rivals ranks these different positions, they consider running back. And in this case, they're putting out the APB, all-purpose back. It's a separate category for them?
Yes, it is. And their Rivals just kind of tweak those. That's actually been around for a while. But like this year, they have defensive end. They have edge rusher. You have, of course, inside linebacker, outside linebacker. So different variations. But yeah, they do have an all-purpose back classification. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe KJ Edwards is classified as all-purpose back. But they have all-purpose back and then more traditional running back.
Interesting. I wonder what the distinction becomes. Is it a speed thing, or is it how many catches you have? Like, what are they looking for to make you the APB?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've never really asked. I think it's more speed and just the ability as a receiver, because I'm looking at Derek Cooper and Amari Latimer. Amari Latimer is listed at 6 foot 200. Derek Cooper, 6'1", 200. So it's not like one's a big bruising runner, build. But yeah, I think it's just maybe ability kind of, maybe their running style, they work better in space. Their ability as a receiver probably comes into play. But yeah, it's, that's a good point when they're having those rankings discussions. Do they sit there and argue back and forth? No, that's an all-purpose back. No, he's a running back. I don't know. Maybe just group them all together. They're all going to be playing the same position. But
yeah, and he's definitely a guy we'll be talking about, I'm sure, next week on the recruiting hour once he comes in for that visit, the unofficial. Could Texas get an official visit later on? Like Jason said, we'll keep our eyes peeled for all of that. And you keep your eyes on orangebloods.com for Jason's very latest there. So Derek Cooper is coming in. You could argue that he highlights the group that's coming in, but he's certainly not the only badass guy coming in. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, Jason, on this list of visitors that are top 10 at their position in the country, according to Rivals. So where else do you want to go here as we discuss the visitors? Is there anybody else that immediately jumps to mind after Derek Cooper?
Well, not really. I'm not just going to look at this list. And there are still some more names I'm probably going to add, Chad. I'm waiting for a couple more confirmations. But one that we could talk about, Justice Fitzpatrick, Minka Fitzpatrick's brother, visited Texas yesterday. Yeah, he's a national top safety out of Fort Lauderdale, St. Thomas Aquinas. Zayden Krempin's an offensive lineman. I know we've talked about him out of Prosper.
Sure.
He's in Austin right now for a multi-day visit. Came in yesterday. Will be here till tomorrow. Then this weekend, you got a kind of an IMG Academy from down in Florida. A big contingency from their school is going to be coming through. But Diabell will be back at Texas this weekend, the Texas quarterback commitment, of course. He was here a couple weeks ago for the Texas City Limits thing. At this point, it's just more about Dia coming in to recruit players as it is anything else. He's not, he doesn't need to see anything more. Elijah Kimball, Chad, we're talking about running backs, is an interesting guy. He's a 2027 player. He's out of Buffalo, New York, not exactly a hotbed of football recruiting history for Texas. But Chad Scott's got some connections there, and he recruited him before he got to Texas. Well, Elijah Kimball now is a top priority for 2027. He's coming in for his first Texas visit. I have a feeling that one's going to move the needle. I think when he walks out of Austin, I think after this visit on Sunday, I could see Texas sitting near the top of his list. A couple committed guys that I've got on the list, Chad. Jabari Mack, wide receiver. Yeah, is committed to LSU. And Cody Green, who's committed to Oregon. They're scheduled to be in town. Cody Green is going to take an official visit. He's going to be tougher to peel away from Oregon, okay? But Jabari Mack, even though he's from Louisiana, he's been to Texas multiple times. He's going to take an official visit. There was a time right before he committed, he was listing Texas as his co-leader, interestingly, with A&M, not LSU. But he ends up committing to LSU, but he's keeping a pretty open mind. So, both those committed guys will be coming in. I think that's going to be interesting to see what Cody Green has to say. Jabari's been there a few times before, so we'll see what he has to say. And then another big one, Jaraylen McCoy out of Mississippi. If you remember, Texas offered him recently. He had just released the top 5. Texas offered him. He said, you know what? I'm going to change up that top 5. Kicks A&M out, puts Texas in, sets up a Texas official visit. He's going to come in this weekend. This is his 3rd time. He was supposed to come in like on the 12th and then the 19th or something. Now he's coming in this weekend. So let's hope it happens this weekend. Hopefully I'll get to talk to Jabari after his visit. But he is supposed to be in this weekend, and then he's coming back for an official visit. Texas is in his top 5.
So he does have an official set for June.
Yeah. I think it's the 13th. I'd have to look at his profile to confirm, but I believe it's, I don't have, no, it is. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. June 13th. There it is. Just popped up. Yep. June 13th.
Yep. And and that's like you said, a guy out of Mississippi. I'm seeing him as the number 10 defensive end in the country. Do I have that ranking right, or did I mix up D end and edge? I might have mixed.
No, he's a traditional D end at 6'7", 245. So he's almost a strong side defensive end. So that's almost how Rivals has gone. I mean, when I think of edge, I'm like kind of weak side end or linebacker as much as anything. He's very much a traditional, 6'7". He's got great height, but 245. So he's very much a traditional defensive end. And you're right, he's number 10 in the country.
Speaking of that position, the guy I see that's at number 2 there is also visiting, Jake Cruel. I love a good name. Jake Cruel out of Florida. Tell me about him.
Well, he's part of that IMG Academy group that's coming in. Okay. So, yeah, I think Texas is in play there. They've offered him, and he's visiting. But, they're going to bring through a whole bunch of guys from that program. So, we'll see. We'll see if Jake, what he has to say after the visit, how strongly he's legitimately considering Texas. But, he'll be part of that IMG group that's coming in this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of visitors coming in. And again, check out orangebloods.com for the very latest. Jason's 321 article is up on orangebloods.com. It's got all these visitors we've listed, plus a few more that maybe we didn't talk about. The rumor mill article is out there as well. There's a lot of great content at orangebloods.com. Get signed up if you haven't done it yet. Lots of great content as we roll through the portal. We're at day 8 of the portal, a couple days from it closing, but also there's no such thing as the opening day or closing day of recruiting. We always say it never ever stops, including these great visits coming in.
Yeah, this weekend I'll be down on campus again, stalking recruits, taking pictures, getting interviews. And then, Chad, I think I get a little bit of a breather because it's been a long time since I've had a weekend or a day off, honestly.
There you go.
Yeah, I made the mistake last weekend. I was like, you know what? Texas doesn't have a lot of guys coming in. Okay, so I'm not going to be down on campus. So I told my wife, and my 2 kids in college were not coming home for Easter. I said, let's go see the kids, right? And my son, Zachary, love him to death, but he doesn't need a lot. Now, my girls, they're girls. They'll take anything. My son's like, hey, Zach, let's go buy this. No, Dad, I'm good. Let's go buy this. No, I'm good. He came home about a month ago. And my wife and I are like, dude, you need some new shoes. Those are the shoes we bought you for your senior pictures. He's like, they're still functional, is what he tells me, Chad. And I go, no, I can see your soles are separating. I go, you need new shoes. So I told my wife, I said, let's go down there to San Marcos. And I said, we'll take both of our kids in college to the outlet mall, which, oh my gosh, I never want to go back there, but that's a whole other discussion. And I said, we're going to drag my son to the shoe store and buy him some shoes. So we did. But while we're down there, all these damn portal commitments started to break. So I'm on my phone posting commitment stories. Thankfully, I had pre-written them, but I was like, good God, I can't even get away to go see my kids for a day for Easter. And I'm having to work. I didn't get to see them a whole lot. They were in the store with my wife, and I'm out on the outside posting stories. So to your point, recruiting never ends, but I will be down on campus this weekend. And then hopefully I can get a little bit of a breather and maybe enjoy a weekend off. Yeah. So
man can't even buy a pair of shoes for his kid without it happening. Come on now. Hey, you know what? Murad Watson did you a favor. Did it midweek. Did it right in the middle of the week here.
And we knew that one was probably coming. So I had a story written and ready. Although I was at HEB yesterday picking up some prescriptions. Why can't they ever happen when I'm sitting here in front of my computer? It's always like lately, it's like, I'm in San Marcos, or I was at HEB picking up prescriptions and Murad Watson committed. But thankfully, we already had that one written and preloaded, so it wasn't too difficult.
They know when you're moving. They know when you're moving. So again, a big group of visitors coming in this weekend. Diabell coming back in, looking to recruit other guys. Maybe Diabell and Derek Cooper get acquainted, and the number one all-purpose back starts taking another more serious look at Texas.
Two Florida kids, why not, right? They can bond over that.
Yeah. See, right? Exactly. Two guys from Florida. They're going to have all kinds of things in common. No worries, Texas fans. Jason, anything else we need to hit on the visits coming for this weekend before we wrap up?
No, our man David Keith's always so good. He's got a couple questions. I haven't even read them, but if you want to pop them up, we'll answer those real quick, and then we can call it a day.
All right, let's do that. David Keith wants to talk about Lott first. My view about the best position for Jalen Lott has changed from the first being a wide receiver to now cornerback. It seems Texas may view him more as a wide receiver. Where do you think he would fit best?
First off, I don't know that Texas views him more as a wide receiver. David Keith, I think you just tell him, it's recruiting, man. In fact, I said on Orange Bloods, like, if I'm in charge of it, I say, hey, you're going to be our Travis Hunter. You're going to basically start on both sides of the ball. So, I mean, that's what I would be telling him. Where do I think he would fit best? Wherever he wants, man. I think he is elite of the elite. I know Rivals has him ranked pretty highly, right? But let me see. Rivals has him, bear with me, I'm sorry. Rivals, I mean, he's a national top 100 player, of course, but wherever they've got him ranked, they got a number 48 nationally. I think number 7 in the state. I think that's underranked. It's a good question. Where do I think he would fit best? I think he could excel at either position. So it's not a matter of fit, but I do feel like it's harder to find elite level corners than it is wide receivers, especially in Sark's offense. So maybe I would lean cornerback, but if getting him and Jalen will tell you he doesn't care about receiver or cornerback. But if selling him on receiver maybe gives you a little bit of boost, then sell him on receiver, sure, and let him start out at receiver if that's what he wants to do. I'll tell you what's important to Jalen Lott, not so much where he plays. Although kids will say that, Chad, and I'm like, most kids dream of like catching touchdown passes, okay, more than they do being a lockdown defender. But you know what? Jalen's good enough; he'll catch some pick sixes, okay. But what's important to Jalen Lott is going to a program where whoever's coaching him played the position at a very high level and has coached at a very high level, has experience, knows what he's talking about. Who better at wide receiver than Chris Jackson, who played and coached in the NFL? Okay. Now, I know Oregon's coach, I don't know his history, but I don't think he played wide receiver at the highest of levels. He's coached for a while. But so I think that's something that I've said for kind of behind the scenes. But, hey, Texas could use that as some leverage on Jalen Lott over maybe Oregon, who Oregon right now I think is the team to beat. So I think it's an interesting recruiting tactic. But where do I think he would fit best, David Keith? Wherever the hell he wants. He's so good, I would just put him out there somewhere.
All right, let's grab one more from David Keith here before we get done. He sent this one too. Does it seem that Texas is not only recruiting more wide receivers this particular recruiting class, but there are more wide receivers strongly considering Texas than in the recent past?
I think they're recruiting more nationally. There's not many in-state. I mean, they got Chris Stewart committed, possibly Jalen Lott if they want to start focusing on him as a receiver. Caden Finley, obviously, but there's not a lot of in-state guys that are really aggressively recruiting. So, yeah, I think David Keith is right. They're being more active out of state. Guys like Aaron Gregory, some of the guys coming in this weekend, Tristan Keys, another receiver committed to LSU. So, I think they're being a little bit more aggressive with out-of-state receivers, and there's just not a wealth of depth of true in-state elite talent. I mean, Texas wants to take receivers who are NFL players. They're not looking for pretty good college players. They're looking at guys who have NFL bodies, NFL skill sets, and that's why I think you're seeing them recruit more nationally this year. And those guys are being very receptive. Why not? I mean, Texas is all back-to-back college football playoffs. Obviously, academics. I mean, the trajectory of the program, the offense, the development that you've seen at receiver. And Texas has a lot to sell at the receiver position. That's why you're seeing those out-of-state national guys take notice.
David Keith, we appreciate you. He says he appreciates us both addressing his questions. Thank you, David Keith. We could tell you are way into football. You love the X's and O's. We love those questions that you throw in. Thank you for jumping in today. Thanks to over 400 of you for jumping in that Specs chat. Remember, check out the show whenever you like. If you're not watching live right now in the 10 o'clock a.m. hour on a Wednesday, whenever you check out the show, we appreciate you for liking, subscribing, getting the notifications. Remember, if you didn't like on the way in, go ahead and like on the way out. And thank you all for getting us to 25,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Remember, that one is free. Just get yourself subscribed. If you're not currently a subscriber, we would appreciate it. Those numbers do help us out. We're back every Wednesday with this show. A reminder, at noon, we got House Divided coming today. Catch is back in. He's been doing some research on Texas's portal tactics and why it looks like there's great news coming for Texas and really bad news coming for Oklahoma. I don't think I could set up a show any better than that for you Texas fans. That's coming at noon. Catch is going after the Sooners, so get ready for that. Outsiders tonight at 8:30. We'll talk draft as the Longhorns may be ready to make a little history with 3 guys in the first round. Chance Mock, how about his top 5 favorite draft busts of all time? We'll get into that. So all you Tony Mandarich fans, come on and join us. Jamarcus Russell people, come on and join us tonight for the Outsiders. Old-fashioned tomorrow at 9 a.m. Jason is hoping that somebody doesn't get picked 21st in this year's draft that would be considered an all-time bust. He doesn't want that to happen with a Sanders.
All-time bust has to be like a top 5-ish type player, though,
that's
right?
True. 21. Yeah. No, there's no bust at 21. I don't think. Yeah.
But it's a quarterback, so that's
That's true.
I mean, Kenny Pickett might fall in that category. So from
that's
years ago. So
that is fair. Thank you all for supporting us here at Orange Bloods Live. We'll be back next Wednesday at 10 a.m. I'm sure talking about a few of those visitors that were in this weekend. Check out orangebloods.com for the very latest, and a shout out to Longhorn Wealth Management Group for sponsoring the Recruiting Hour. This is Orange Bloods Live. Y'all take care. See ya.